Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started on time. My name is Chris Howell. I'm the Superintendent of Schools for RSU 14, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the RSU 14 public budget meeting. It's an opportunity tonight to hear a little bit about the budget, hear about the work that the administrative team has done, the board has done, and then also tonight to approve a budget which will be sent to the voters for June 11th for overall decide in that budget referendum what the final budget will be for RSU 14. Thank you all for coming out tonight. What was supposed to have been a rainy day looks like it's been pretty decent out there, warm and muggy, but thank you all for spending some time with us tonight to come and learn a little bit about the budget. So first thing we're going to do tonight is do the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you'd all rise with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like the RSU 14 Board of Directors to go ahead and introduce themselves.
Christina Small.
Marge Gravoni.
Joe Kellner.
Jody Carroll.
Jenny Butler.
Jessica Bridges.
Char Jewell.
Mike McClellan.
Caitlin Downs.
Okay. Our first item of business tonight is for us to go ahead, which is Article 1A, to elect a moderator to preside at the meeting. Are there any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Bill Stockmeyer.
Second.
Okay, there's been a first and a second. Any other nominations from the floor? If not, I will go ahead and close nominations. So all of those in favor as Bill Stockmeyer as moderator, please raise your hand. Okay. At this point, I'd like to introduce Bill and go ahead and swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Maine so long as you continue to be a citizen thereof and faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities the duties incumbent on you as moderator of the Regional School Unit 14 budget meeting on May 14th, 2024, according to the Constitution and laws of the state of Maine?
I do.
Okay.
I'm going to sign this
Yep.
and have you take it. Great. That's for you now.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'd like to begin just by making sure that if you're a registered voter, you've checked in and you have is it pink voting card? When we raise your hands, if you use a card, we'll know that you're actually a voter. Anyone in the audience not a voter? Okay, so I'll keep an eye on, it's Terry, right? Okay, we'll all keep an eye on Terry. Anyone else? Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on you too. Or we'll let your parents do it. Okay, anyone else? All right, I'm not going to ask people to move unless there's an objection. I'm never very successful asking the children to move, so, you know, it never seems to work. All right, I've already sworn in the ballot clerks so they can continue to register any more voters that may come in. The next order of business is to establish the rules for the meeting. I will follow the rules of the Maine Moderator's Manual with a couple of applicable provisions of Maine law. One of these is that any school administrative officials who are not residents, I will allow to speak as called upon to answer questions and to explain the budget. Second one is, by law, we have a written ballot on Article 14. Any objection to the rules of procedure? Seeing none, I'll now recognize Superintendent Howell to provide an overview of the budget.
Everyone hear me okay? I know I've actually seen many of you at our budget meetings, and so what I want to do is just take a couple minutes to do a recap of the budget and the budget process that we've gone through this year. And for board members, you have a copy of the presentation in your packets with the slides. So it always feels like we're doing budget in RSU 14 because we start each October and we have budgets that are passed in June. So I get about a 3.5, 4 month reprieve, and then we go ahead and we get right back into the budget process. So going through that process, and the wonderful Stacy Webster, who's here, starts working on rolling over budget, looking at all the different cost centers. And then throughout the months of November to February, the administrative team is working on crafting that budget for what's going to be presented to the board. The board received the budget on February 28th. They spent through April 10th deliberating on the budget, hearing from the cost centers, and the budget that you have in front of you that you'll be considering tonight was passed by this board on April 10th. Tonight is our public budget meeting. The budget that you decide at this meeting will be sent to the voters for their approval at the June 11th election. I know for those of you who saw our budget presentation, when we develop budgets, often we're looking at what are overall district priorities. But in addition, budget's policy. And really, budget shows where a district most cares about, where its concentration is for its resources. And I think you'll see in the budget presentation we have the resources that the board is asking for and the administrator asking for. These are kid-focused, kid support, the policy of in RSU 14 is Success for All. That's where our money has gone, and that's where our budgeting has gone. Some significant challenges this year. We started the year with an open the door at 5.94%. And what's interesting going through the process of the budget, which started at 5.94 and at one point got up to 11, actually ended at 5.94. So what we predicted to open the door this year is where we ended when we went through the process. But some of those challenges this year, negotiated contracts, which include health insurance and salaries. We've spent a lot of time this year working with our teaching staff. We as a district had fallen behind other districts when it comes to salaries that we're able to offer our staff. And so working to make sure that we're providing a competitive wage and that we're attracting the absolute best people into our district. A couple of other challenges we have. The state funding formula is based on two factors. One is the overall perceived wealth of your communities, and the other is your kid count. Now for us, our kid count has remained pretty stable, but overall valuations, Windham and Raymond are very attractive and desirable places for people to live, and our valuations actually outpaced overall state valuation, which also means then at that point that we start to lose funding. Other pieces that were challenges this year, Maine Paid Leave Act, which is a new piece of legislation which creates a fund to support staff who are out on leave, is a 1% payroll tax. 0.5% falls on the district as additional funds that we need to put in the budget. The other half will fall on the employee. And then I think all of us who've been into Walmart or the grocery store or have looked to purchase things for classroom, just the regular cost of goods and services have gone up. And things like paper, pens, pencils, consumables that we buy for classrooms, prices have all gone up, and it has been a long, long time since we've increased some of those amounts. And then obviously, as we're also all feeling at home, energy costs have gone up, the cost of electricity has gone up, and for us to be able to keep the buildings open, keep them lit, keep them warm, run our buses on the road, that costs a little bit more. As far as enrollment goes, we're pretty flat, pretty steady. There is going to be a difference at this point, predicted of about 20 students less than where we were this past year. However, we're also now starting to get the stream of superintendent's agreements and people asking or requesting to come into RSU 14. So I would expect that enrollment-wise, we're going to be pretty similar to where we were last year. So here's our overall budget. This is budget version 7. Which is $60,185,403. It's up 5.94% this year. And just working through the budget process this year, administrative team and our teacher leaders did a great job of any time that we added a position, they looked to a point where, is there a position that we can remove from the district? And so overall net position-wise, we actually stayed pretty steady. So looked at where might there be existing efficiencies or other cost things that we could actually cut back so that we could add additional services for our students. One of the questions I always get is, how do we compare in our per pupil spending to other districts that are in our area? And if you look, state average is roughly, and this is audited numbers from the Department of Education. This past year has not been released, or won't be released until next year, but state average is about $17,600 per student. RSU 14, $16,002, and then we have some communities to our east that are well over $20,000 in what they spend per pupil. So we feel in RSU 14 we've done an outstanding job of providing the best quality education. Also, we've been able to do that at with a reasonable fiscal note. So our significant budget changes for this year. Windham High School has a bar teaming coordinator looking at freshman teaming. To offset that, we cut a district technology integrator. So a one-to-one. Raymond Elementary School is adding 0.2 of a school counselor to fill a position, and then adding a classroom teacher. But you notice primary school, we're actually cutting 2 teachers based on enrollment and the numbers that we're seeing there. For this budget includes a grade level of MLTI computers, which is we get half subsidy for the computer purchase. Windham Middle School is adding a classroom teacher. In transportation, we're adding a van driver and a couple bus aides to make sure that our buses are well managed. We are adding at the high school middle level a social worker, substance counselor, but we're going to be getting rid of our day one services and using those funds as an offset. Also an elementary social worker, which the board, as they worked through the budget, that was a priority for them. Manchester Elementary School will be cutting a 4th grade classroom teacher. We have an enrollment bubble that's moving through. District-wide, the district for years had a $100,000 transfer that went to food service to cover when the food service program might be in the red. With free lunches, we're serving 4,400 meals a day, and our revenues are up. So we're reducing that transfer. I talked about the technology integrator, 1.57 kitchen staff, the payroll tax. We used to have $180,000 for a laptop transfer, and those are the fees that parents pay in. We self-insure for broken laptops and things. That's been removed from the budget. And then in addition, if you've been by Manchester School lately, first of all, the ground's green, and there's some trees that are up, so we're going to have to start mowing that. So we're going to be sharing a ground staff that with the town of Windham. Town of Windham's going to reimburse us for the costs related to that. Overall, FTEs, because of ads ins and ads out, it's actually a little over 3 FTEs different. It's not a huge difference in the number of employees that we have. Other things that are important for you to consider, here's our budget history. We acknowledge that our budget is higher this year than it has been in the past. Again, a lot of that being driven by some of those factors at that 5.94%. But to give you an idea, this is what Cumberland County looks like. These are board-approved budgets at the moment. And we have everything from Westbrook, which was 9.69%, they're board-approved. There's RSU 14 at 5.94, South Portland at 4.99, which is the lowest in our grouping. And then going up from there, we have Gorham, who's just directly to us to the south, 6.97%. So while it may feel that we are up a little bit from where we've been, it's the general trend that all the other districts in our catchment area are experiencing as well. Another challenge for us this year is that we did lose a little bit of state subsidy, about $490,000. Some of that was directly due to a high cost out-of-district placement. We no longer have that cost. So the actual impact of this is probably closer to $200,000 loss versus the $493 with what we have for an impact. And where does the money go? Biggest pie there in kind of a salmon-y peach. Regular instruction, directly to the classroom, special education costs, facilities maintenance, taking care of our buildings, and then we have these smaller tabs which are transportation, school admin, system admin, which includes the central office, student and staff support, so that's your guidance services, library services, technology, and then some other instruction pieces that go, co-curriculars, things that go with that. And then revenues. We understand that majority of our support comes from the taxpayers. Required EPS is an amount that we're required to raise in order to get any state subsidy. We also have the state subsidy component, but roughly we have about a third as state subsidy, and roughly 2/3 is tax to both Windham and Raymond. So that's the budget piece. In addition, this year in the public budget meeting, we actually have a couple articles which you're not used to seeing. The first one is the purchase of a piece of property, and that piece of property, if you were to go out the 300 wing here, there's the tennis court, the softball field, and then the road that runs along out to Route 202. This has come up for sale for $100,000. It's 1.85 acres. Most of it right now is pasture. We've had our civil engineer look at it. It is suitable for an additional softball field. It's suitable for building on. It's also suitable for pickleball courts, which I know we've had some community members who've been lobbying us for as well, through also Parks and Rec. But it's a wonderful piece. Property does not come up very often, directly adjacent to the school, and we're going to be paying for this out of fund balance. So it's not going to be part of what's raised through taxation. Those are funds that we already have on hand. I will also tell you that high school staff over the years have been using this property for maple sugaring and other activities, not realizing that we don't actually own it. So that's one component that you'll be voting on tonight. The other is a land swap of 2,224 square feet with Shad's countertop. And this is the back side of Manchester. There's a set of industrial buildings, and we are trading the little triangle to the right that we will take possession of for the little triangle on the left. And the little triangle on the left is beneficial to the property owner because when all those fields got cleaned out, I don't think anyone realized that we actually owned all that property and they didn't have any spot to clear snow for all those businesses. We also realized when that property was cleared that there was a strange little triangle that jutted in, and so it made much more sense that we do a direct swap. There's no cost to this, but it does require voter approval in order for us to do this. Other things that you're going to be voting on tonight is capital reserve, and capital reserve is where we take funds that we currently have on hand, fund balance, and we use those funds for projects. We can use them for long-term things. First one there, Raymond Elementary electrical HVAC. If you've been to RES and you've worked on the third floor, you know it's one of the hottest places in the district. We have been working on a project, it's actually a 3-year project, to upgrade the electrical to the building and also add some climate control to some classrooms that get over 90 degrees multiple days throughout the year. So that's one piece. Again, these are existing funds that we have on hand to designate to these projects. Manchester School, we're going to be redoing that parking lot, adding a bus lane, and paving this summer. In addition, we're prepping for a parent drop-off loop at Manchester. And if you've ever been to Manchester in the morning for traffic and have tried to go through the loop, it takes forever to enter, exit, to get to that property. The third item there, Windham Primary School, which was completed in 1991. Needs some structural upgrades to the roof to meet modern snow code. In addition, the roof, it's time to redo the roof. So some funds that are set aside for that. The network infrastructure, these are all the switches and servers and other pieces that we use to run the district. What's nice about this particular line is we get about 50% of those funds back through the E-rate program. So for every $80,000 we spend, we get $40,000 back. And last things, treatment plant. Yes, we are the owners of a sewage treatment plant, and it needs some work to create some curbing because right now when we had those big rains, all that runoff went down into the treatment plant, and we're actually now treating water that's coming off of the hill to about 25 to 30,000 gallons in a bad rainstorm that we have to treat. So some upgrades we need to do there, and then the BenQ boards, setting aside some additional money. What this budget does not include This does not include any funds or any designations for the new middle school project. The initial costs for those aren't actually going to start till fall of '26. We're in the process right now of, the site goes out to bid on Friday. Through the help of Mr. Stockmeyer over here, we have been able to secure short-term bonds that are of no cost to the taxpayer in order to be able to get that building going and to get it running. So this will go out to bid Friday. For those of you who haven't seen some of the updated sketches, it's an absolutely beautiful building, and it's going to be a wonderful resource for Raymond and Wyndham for our 5th through 8th graders. So I'll end on this, which was one of the fun, exciting things of this past winter. And I know several of you I saw at the Civic Center having the opportunity to watch the first ever boys basketball championship. Fun time for the school, fun time for the community. But people don't often think not only does the budget cover the buildings and the academics, it also covers the programs and things that we do with students. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Bill, to run through the articles.
Thank you, and it was pointed out to me that the written ballot will be Article 13, not 14, so stand corrected on that. Just want to remind people that if you wish to speak on any of the articles, we have microphones in the front. Please use them. People cannot hear you in this room unless you do. When I recognize you, state your name, the town that you're from first, and then address the meeting. Please have questions go through me. So you're the legislators tonight, but this is not a legislative hearing where you get to cross-examine witnesses. This is a legislative session where you're talking to each other and debating with each other about how you're going to vote, okay? So questions will go through me for that reason. You'll govern how long things take. If you wish to cut off debate, you can make a motion. It's called moving the previous question. I move the previous question. We don't have too many people here tonight, so I'm not expecting that we'll need that, but I often get asked that. We'll take up each article in turn. I'll read it. I'll ask a board member to move the article as written. We'll get a second. The article will then be on the floor for discussion or any debate. We'll vote by ayes and nays, raising your voting cards. Just before we start, I want to point out for those of you who aren't familiar with the budgets, if you take a look at your warrant, like any budget, this budget has an expenditure side and a revenue side. The first 11 articles are the expenditure side, and those we vote on first. Once that's done, those 11 articles add up to the total budget, and just so you know, the total budget is in Article 14. Now, the revenue side is Articles 12 and 13, okay? Like any budget, you want the revenues to equal the expenditures, right? If you're really fast at math, you'll notice that there seems to be a small amount missing. The only reason for that is it's not missing. Those are carry forwards or miscellaneous receipts that do not involve property taxes. They do not involve state subsidy. By law, you don't vote on them by a separate article. They're just folded into the Article 14, the summary. So the revenues actually do add up. I get asked that question. And the other question I get asked is, what's up with Article 12? So Article 12 is the article that gives you state matching dollars, okay? On the right are your local tax dollars that you need to raise to get the state matching dollars. Where are the state matching dollars? They're not shown. The state matching dollars are the mathematical difference between the left column and the right column. So the left column is the total of the state dollars plus those tax dollars on the right. Okay? You'd have to do the math to figure out the total. But as you can see, the total is $43,069,000. The local share totals $25,433,000 and change. So if you were to do the subtraction, the state subsidy is the difference between those two. Why is it done that way? State law mandates it that way. So that's why we do it that way. Okay? Just so everybody understands, I hope that's helpful. So now we're going to proceed. I will read each article in turn. I'll ask for a motion. Everyone ready? Article 1, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. School board recommends $24,080,265.80. Do I have a motion on Article 1?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 1's on the floor. Any discussion? Regular instruction. Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 1 carries. Article 2, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for special education. School Board recommends $10,972,501.86. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 2 is on the floor. This is special education. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 2 carries. Article 3, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. School Board recommends $0. I always remind people the reason this is $0 is not because there's no money for kids who are in those programs, get sent to those programs. The entity providing that service gets funded directly now, so why do we vote on it? And the answer is because, just as a placeholder, if the state legislature again changes the formula, we already have it there. So do I have a motion on Article 3?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, I think I didn't read it. To see what sum the regional is going to be authorized to expend for career and technical education, $0. It's been moved and seconded. Absent an objection, we're just going to vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Article 3 carries. Article 4, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for other instruction. School Board recommends $1,207,156.67. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 4 is on the floor. This is other instruction. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 4 carries. Article 5, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for student and staff support. School Board recommends $5,532,118.58. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 5 is on the floor for discussion, student and staff support. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 5 carries. Article 6, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for system administration. School Board recommends $1,663,932.02. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 6 is on the floor. This is system administration. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 6 carries. Article 7, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for school administration. School Board recommends $3,290,793.01. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 7, school administration is on the floor for discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Article 7 carries. Article 8, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. School Board recommends $3,878,519.96. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
It's on the floor. This is transportation and buses. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 8 carries. Article 9, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. School Board recommends $7,993,740.10. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 9 is on the floor for discussion. Facilities maintenance. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 9 carries. Article 10, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School Board recommends $1,286,375. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 10 is on the floor for discussion. This is debt service. Seeing no one who wants to speak, we'll vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Article 10 carries. Article 11, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. School Board recommends $280,000. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 11 is on the floor for discussion. All other expenditures. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 11 carries. So those were the expenditures. The next article is the article that raises local money in the right column to qualify for your state matching dollars, which, as I said, is the mathematical difference between the two columns. I'll read the article. Article 12, to see what sum the regional school unit will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and assess as each municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. Now, the amount recommended, I'll just read the totals. The total appropriation, state subsidy plus local taxes together for both towns proposed is $43,069,383.79. And the total to be raised in the right column, and you can see the amount for each town, but the total would be $25,433,608.29. Do I have a motion on Article 12?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, Article 12 is on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 12 carries. Article 13, now, if I call for a vote, remind me this is a written ballot, okay, by law. I always have to make a note, written ballot, you dummy, don't forget. Article 13, to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate in additional local funds. The recommendation is $15,582,243.54, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by that amount, $15,582,243.54, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. Okay, then there's an explanation. I'm not going to read the explanation. Do we have a motion on Article 13?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, Article 13, additional local funds, is on the floor for discussion. Any discussion? Okay, so no discussion. So we have one ballot box, is it? We have two ballot boxes. Can we bring one to each side? Or have you got the other? Where's the other one? Oh, just one. Okay, one ballot box. Not to worry, it's the combined vote anyway, so don't worry about that. Why don't we, well, you can vote in whatever order you want, but maybe if you come down, over here, if you come down the center lane and back, it might be a little more orderly. So you're going to vote by written ballot. You're going to check yes or no on the slip that was provided to you, if you wish to vote. You're going to put it in the ballot box there. Now, just stop for 1 second. You are permitted to fold it, but if you don't fold it, the counting is much faster. So it's up to you, but if you'd like it to be faster, don't fold it, okay? It's entirely up to you. Okay, let's vote. It's not so bad today, but if you have 150 voters, it saves a lot of time. But there's a little definition of kindergarten includes.
As long as we're fine, yes.
You're fine. Or they'll say the statute. Or prepare that the person do. Okay, have board members had a chance to vote up here? Has everyone had a chance to vote? Has anyone not voted? If you haven't voted, wave your hand. Okay, I'm going to close the voting and ask the clerks to count the ballots. While they're counting, I did get a question, and maybe you've wondered about it, and the question is, why doesn't this question say, and other questions say pre-kindergarten instead of kindergarten, because you have a pre-kindergarten? And there are two answers. One is the form of the question is decided by statute, and the statute says kindergarten. But since you have pre-K, I can also tell you that the definition of kindergarten in the statute includes pre-kindergarten. So there's no omission. You don't have to worry or be confused. It will fund your pre-K. But you would be correct to wonder about it. Any reasonable person would. Okay, if we come back to order, I'll declare the results, which are, there were 38 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 void, so Article 13 carries. Article 14. Let's save this. So now we're at the total budget, basically what you've just approved, right? Article 14, to see what sum the regional school unit will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025, from the regional school unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, local funds for non-state funded school construction projects, additional funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 28, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. School Board recommends $60,185,403. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
Second.
Article 14 is on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 14 carries. Next article is adult education. To see if the regional school unit will appropriate $697,572.69 for adult education and raise $349,097.55 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 15 is on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Okay, Article 15 carries. Article 16, in addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other program purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 16 carries. Article 17, shall the school board be authorized to transfer up to $1,660,000 from unexpended balances to the school capital reserve fund and to expend up to $1,660,000, from said reserve fund for the following purposes in addition to amounts the voters have previously authorized to be expended from the school capital reserve fund for these or other projects. Superintendent Howell reviewed each of these with you previously. You can see them in the table. Each facility, each project, the estimate for each project. The total I will read, $1,660,000. Is there a motion on Article 17?
I move the article as written.
Second.
It's on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 17 carries. Article 18, shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, provided that transfers shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget? Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 18 carries. Okay, now we come to the two real estate articles that were mentioned by Superintendent Howell. Article 19, shall the school board be authorized to transfer $100,000 to the school capital reserve fund and expend $100,000 from said reserve fund to purchase an approximately 1.85 acre parcel of land located next to Wyndham High School at 177 Pope Road in the town of Wyndham, tax map 43, lot 4. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion in favor of the article and a second. It's on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 19 carries. Article 20, shall the school board be authorized to swap an approximately 2,224 square feet portion of the Manchester Elementary School property, tax map 67, lot 21, for an approximately 2,224 square feet portion of a property abutting the Manchester Elementary School property, tax map 54, lot 67-2A-1. The boundary line adjustment is a pure land swap with no exchange of money between the property owners. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second. All in favor, raise your cards. I'm sorry, I should have asked for discussion. I apologize. Things were going so smoothly up to that moment. Any discussion? Great. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. So Article 20 carries. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, that is concluding the business portion of the meeting, just again want to remind you, this is the first of 2 votes on the school budget. The voting day on the budget validation referendum is June 11. There will be an absentee ballot voting period before that. That's voting in the voting booth in your respective communities for the budget to be validated by referendum. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Anyone?
I move to adjourn from regular meeting.
Okay. I'm going to
Second.
and seconded, and third and fourth. I'll take that as acclamation. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I appreciate it.